So we're going to do this for 30 minutes. I call these sessions mantra, right? So we just talked a little bit about how I have this passion for writing short affirmations of worth and reminders. So for this, I'm going to take you through a little bit of thinking about the power of language, the power of emotional vocabulary. I'm assuming that most everyone here has a pen and paper in front of them. That's great. If you don't, maybe try to grab it. If you don't have access to it, that's okay. I just want you to have somewhere where you could write something down on your computer phone, just so you have a reminder of the clarity that perhaps you can create for yourself in this session. So I'm going to talk for a little bit first, for maybe about 8 minutes here, and then I'm going to give you some prompts. Very simple prompts focused on the idea of emotional vocabulary. And then we're just going to write, and we're going to do it for about 30 minutes. So I would start with this. I want to start with the idea of mindfulness, right? We're all here more or less because we want to be more mindful, whether that's mindful in the sense of finding clarity in our lives, mindful in the sense of understanding that feeling of the miracle we want to experience. And we can go around the room here and I could say, what does being mindful mean to you? And we'd all have different answers, but more or less they would probably circle one idea. And I want to take that idea and I want to make it very simple and impactful. For the most part, I think we'd agree that being mindful means an element of listening to yourself, right? When you say, I want to be mindful in my life, it usually means I want to listen to myself. I want to be present. I want to ground myself in this moment with my feet on the floor, and I want to feel how I feel. I want to accept it. I want to surrender to it. I want to be non-judgmental of the many emotions that are floating around in my head. I think that's a great starting point for mindfulness. To be mindful is to listen to yourself. I think we could take this though and really give it some momentum so that it means something actionable. So when I think about mindfulness, I think about listening to ourselves, but perhaps more importantly, I think about talking to ourselves. Talking to ourselves. The words we use to respond to what we feel and what we think when we reflect, right? I'm sure everyone here has a mindful habit, whether it's breath work or meditation or journaling or just sitting and grounding yourself with your feet on the floor. Amazing. You feel a rush of emotion. You feel how you feel. Great. How do you speak to yourself about those things? It's not something that we really spend a lot of time thinking about because what we do is we feel a feeling and we say, I feel anxious. I feel lost. I feel unlovable. I feel behind. Great. Great. You put words to a feeling. We're not trying to control it, but you put words behind it. How do we make that a more optimistic thinking? How do we honor a feeling, but give ourselves room to say, this can change? This feeling that is a negative feeling can change. That's through mindful practice and it's through handwriting. So it's the idea of listening to ourselves, but talking to ourselves. And what happens when you talk to yourself in a way that allows for change? Well, to me, it's all about optimism, right? Optimism is perhaps the belief that miracles can and will happen. For me, optimism is the belief that things can change. In this moment, I could have the weight of many heavy emotions, but I believe that they can change, that this emotion is not permanent, that things can change, that my next chapter will be wildly different and abundant. So, mindfulness, listening to yourself, mindfulness, talking to yourself, mindfulness is what allows for you to be optimistic. And generally speaking, I've realized that with the words we use to describe our feelings, and I'm going to give you an example, and then we're going to go through prompts. The way we speak to ourselves puts us in one of four energetic categories when it comes to language. The first is when we don't really think about how we speak to ourselves and we just speak intuitively. A lot of times we put ourselves in the category of life happens to me. T-O. Life happens to me. Things happen, randomness happens, things happen to me. I hope everything will work out. Right? So it's a bit of a passive way of speaking to ourselves. Life happens to me. The more we evolve our emotional vocabulary, the more we're allowing ourselves to sit in the feeling, but to give it movement, then we can say, okay, well, yes, of course, life happens to me. Things happen that are not my choice, but life also happens through me. Life happens to me, but life also happens through me. The idea, of course, that something can happen to me in my life that I did not choose, but I can catalyze it into something empowering. I can turn it into a higher standard, a better belief in myself, a piece of clarity, a new goal, a new ambition. Okay, life happens to me, but life also happens through me. The more you continue to evolve your emotional vocabulary, the more you believe, okay, well, those are all true statements, but I have more power than I think. Life happens by me. I have the ability to reinvent. I have the ability to say, this is my standard, and I'm never sidestepping it again. Active is moving from passive, life happens to me, to life happens by me, right? So life happens to me, through me, by me. And then ultimately, I think the energy of vocabulary that we should strive to be at in life is life happens for me. And I know we could prove this to ourselves. I know we could all look back at past experiences that were hurtful, where we didn't get what we wanted. And now, with retrospect, we could look back and say, I understand why that happened. That happened for me because I deserve better. I deserve different. That thing that didn't result in the result I wanted, it served me in a way that only now I can understand. And with that in mind, perhaps in the present, when we're going through the thing, instead of only looking back, we can say, I believe this is happening for me. I believe that this is fuel for my next miracle, right? So you get to see the power of language. It totally changes your relationship with things that happen to you. Life happens to me, through me, by me, and for me. So when I think about being mindful, I think about listening to ourselves, talking to ourselves. The words we use to describe our feelings, they shape the way we experience it. Is this feeling permanent, or is this a feeling that will project me to the next level, my next miracle, the next upgrade in my life? So really that's the focus of what we're going to go through in just a minute here with these prompts. I want you to think about the words you use in your life. Truly, there's a lot to be said about expectation and learned vocabulary. When you sit down and you immediately say, "Man, do I feel anxious?" I applaud you for putting a word to a feeling. A lot of people ignore their feelings. They don't even try to put language behind it. They're just like, "Oh, I feel awful." At least if you say, "I feel anxious," amazing. We're progressing. But I would encourage you to think about that word, for instance. When you say, "I feel anxious," is that what you feel? Or do you feel uncertain or confused or disconnected or alone? Now we're really getting somewhere, right? So it's the idea of like trees and forest. A forest word would be anxious. A tree word would be, I feel disconnected. Now we can actually identify the word and then allow us to project it forward. The goal with mindful practice, in the way that I see it, that is speaking to ourselves in light of what we feel, the goal is to be able to do the following. It's to be able to say, I feel a certain way, but, and then the reality that is caused as a result of us putting optimism behind the word, right? So it's the difference between saying, I feel overwhelmed. Okay, I feel overwhelmed, but I'm adjusting to change. I feel stuck, but I'm transitioning to the next piece of goodness in my life. Your ability to honor a feeling is essential, listening to ourselves. But what comes next, speaking to yourself, is what will allow that feeling to become the thing that says life happens for me, right? So, and this is all about word choice. I truly believe this. I'm sure everyone here has a great, robust vocabulary. It's about sitting in that vocabulary and choosing words that aren't so much laden with permanence. It's saying, it's your ability to say, okay, you know what? I feel a little stressed right now, but I'm handling a lot. I'm stuck, but I'm transitioning, right? I'm struggling, but I'm learning. How can we propel that? That is optimism. The ability to say, I'm learning, I'm transitioning, I'm handling a lot right now. That's the belief that things can change. So I would leave it there almost, because usually my sessions go for an hour, but I'm going to do this very quickly. And the power behind this, and if there's one thing you take away from this, the next time you speak to yourself about what you feel when you're reflecting, I want you to speak in the following format. Instead of saying, I am anxious, or I feel anxious, or I'm sad, or I'm overwhelmed, true feelings. I want you to say, a part of me feels. A part of me feels sad. A part of me feels anxious. A part of me feels overwhelmed. The idea, of course, there is you're unblending the parts from the whole. You are not an anxious person. You are not an overwhelmed person. You're not a sad person. You're not a stuck person, right? We're not trying to control those feelings, but we're saying a part of me feels that way. You and I consist of many parts. parts that are from the past that are trying to protect us, but are inadvertently self-sabotaging us, parts of our head that are massively overthinking, but they're not grounded in reality. We receive a lot of thoughts that are not our own. It's our job to be able to say, that is a part of me, but there's many other parts of me, and I'm going to honor that with the way I speak to myself. So before we get into it, to recap, mindfulness is listening to ourselves. Mindfulness is speaking to ourselves. Optimism is the belief that things can change. The way that we speak to ourselves allows for that to become true. A part of me feels, seriously, I know it's a small thing, but it's totally changed my life. The way that I speak, the way that I think, the way that I write. I am not an anxious person. I'm not an unlovable person. I'm not a stuck person. I'm not a misunderstood person. A part of me feels that way. Okay, now we can work through it. Now we can use that to say life happens for me. So we have 20 minutes left. Grab a pen if you have it. If you don't, maybe you could just write on your computer or your phone. It's okay. Let's go through some prompts. I'm going to give you a prompt. You're going to write. No one's going to be expected to share, of course. This is you. This is your honesty. And then I'm going to give you maybe like 2 minutes to complete each one. I want you to complete the following prompt. I want you to think right now in your life, I want you to think about a negative feeling that you've been feeling frequently, often, right? Something, a heaviness in your life. Maybe it's one of the ones that I referenced earlier. You're feeling anxious or stuck or, guarded or struggling, whatever it may be. And I just want you to write, I feel blank. And I want you to put one adjective in there, that kind of negative adjective that has been present in your life recently. Take about 30 seconds and do that right now. With your pen, I feel, and then write that adjective in that blank, that negative adjective. Let's put a word to it, and we're going to come back to it, but I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. I feel blank. Just one word, just one adjective. I feel blank. Okay. I also want you to write another adjective. I want you to write, I want to feel blank. I want you to think of maybe the opposite of that word, or just the emotional state that you would rather be in right now. Think about adjectives here. I want to feel blank. I want you to write that second adjective there. This is going to be the framing for our exercise together. So take another 30 seconds and write that second word. The first word was I feel blank, negative word. I want to feel blank, positive word, positive adjective. Take a second, just revert to whatever you're thinking about, right? Just doesn't have to be poetry, just one word, adjective, adjective. Take 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on, and you're going to see how these come together. Take another 10 seconds. I feel, negative adjective. I want to feel, positive adjective. Okay. Now, to Kyle's point about gratitude, I wanna do a gratitude exercise that perhaps maybe you're familiar with the inspiration for, but I think it's really powerful in the sense of looking to the past to look to the present, looking to the past to understand this idea of life happening for me. So maybe you're familiar with the work of Thich Nhat Hanh, great, amazing peace activist, Vietnamese Buddhist thinker, amazing portfolio of work. He has something that he refers to as a non-toothache. Maybe you've seen this quote. It's basically the idea. I'll tell you what he says. He says that when we have a toothache, we know that not having a toothache is a wonderful thing. Yet when we don't have a toothache, we're still not happy, which is just such a beautiful way to describe the human condition, right? In the sense, in a much simpler way to say, when something hurts us or frustrates us, that's all we can think about. Yet when we've healed from it, when we've moved on, when it no longer has weight in our lives, we're not grateful for that fact because we've just moved on to the next thing in our lives that has weight. So to think about this idea of non-toothache, that is, I want you to think about something in your life from the past 6 months, past year even. I want you to go back in time when something was painful, was hurtful, was causing you anxiety in your life. It could be a toothache, because a toothache's horrible. It could be you hurt your ankle and you like couldn't walk for a month. That was draining. It could be a strained relationship in the past that was really taxing emotionally. I want you to put yourself back in that time when that feeling was heaviest. And I want you to complete the following prompt in this sense. The prompt is, I'm grateful to not, and I want you to describe that feeling that you had in the past that you no longer feel the weight of anymore, right? So it could be if I had that ankle problem, I'm grateful to no longer have the pain in my foot. I'm grateful to no longer feel the feeling of losing someone I loved. I'm grateful to not feel like I'm lost in my life. Think back to something that really was heavy, and I want you to immerse yourself in the present by describing your current reality of no longer having that weight. I'm grateful to not. Think back and describe that. And it could be a sentence or just bullet points. I'm grateful to not. Right? So it's the idea of a non-toothache. Be grateful for no longer having a toothache. Be grateful for no longer being sick. Be grateful for no longer having the weight of that breakup on your heart. Take a minute and just write that best you can. Again, it doesn't have to be poetry. Just feel that body and that mind connection of looking back, immersing yourself in that feeling, but you're in the present and you don't feel it as heavy anymore, and find gratitude in that. So take 1 minute right now. I'm grateful to not, and then write a sentence. Okay, take another 30 seconds here. I think there's a lot of power when it comes to mindful practice of looking back to look forward. And we're going to break that down in just a second. But just wanted to start. These are like 2 calibrating prompts, and then we're going to get into it a little bit more. So let's go to the next prompt just for the sake of time. You can come back to that if you want. I want to talk about what I think, and perhaps Kyle would agree, is the biggest thing that gets in the way of us manifesting, of us believing in miracles, and us accepting goodness that is on its way. We just need to remain patient. What gets in the way of those beliefs? Resentment, self-resentment, self-blame, self-guilt. None of us here are immune from this, of course, because we've all made mistakes. We've all went left when we should have went right. We've all stayed in relationships when we shouldn't. We've all made wrong choices, right? Of course we have. The problem becomes when we no longer trust ourselves to make a right choice. We made a wrong choice, and in our heads, maybe we made multiple wrong choices. Maybe we stuck ourselves in a pattern of our own doing. We're human. It happens. What happens, though, if we don't speak to ourselves in a way that honors a feeling but lets us escape it, is we become stuck in it, and it becomes resentment and blame and guilt. So we have to find a way to say, I trust myself again. Because think about that word, I trust myself. Think about a mistake in your life that you made. When you made that mistake, whether it was staying in a relationship that you shouldn't have, whether it was quitting your job to take a new job and it turned out that job wasn't right for you, whether it was remaining friends with someone who wasn't a good friend, who didn't share your joy. When you made the decision to do that, you trusted yourself. At the time, you said, this is the right decision. But then it turned out to be the wrong decision. And in the present, you no longer trust yourself to do the same thing because you're worried that you'll do it again. And that's where that resentment comes from. So for this, I just want us to think in the light of resentment and removing it from our path forward by saying, I trust myself to. So that's the prompt. I trust myself to, and fill in that blank. What do you trust yourself to do? I trust myself to blank. Specifically, think in the idea of something that you did before that you've been resistant to doing again. But this time with a rewarding outcome. This time life happens for you. I trust myself to. What do you trust yourself to do? Take a minute, think about that. If you're struggling to think of something, think about a specific mistake you made in the past and tell yourself that you're willing to put yourself in that same exact scenario again. That's how we remove resentment and guilt and blame. We put ourselves in the position to receive a second chance. I trust myself to blank. Take 30 seconds, fill in that blank. I trust myself to blank. Think about the way you can give yourself a second chance at something. It could be very specific or more broadly. I trust myself to blank. Okay, we're going to move a little fast here. We have 10 more minutes. I was listening when Kyle was speaking, and I share the same sentiment when it comes to this idea of manifestation sometimes, right? It's a buzzword. What does it mean? I'm not so sure, to be honest. When I think about manifesting, though, I do think about the idea of the story we tell ourselves and the reality we want to receive. That manifesting is making sure those two things are the same. That's how I think about manifesting. The story we tell ourselves and the reality we want to receive. Right. So let's just say within the context of relationships, this is something I talk about in my upcoming book, is we say, I want a healthy partner. Good. But then we also say, but there's no good men left. But every woman's crazy. Those two things can't be true at the same time if you want to receive the direction or outcome you want in life, right? Just logically speaking, you tell yourself you want a healthy partner, but then you say none are available. You bring a lot to the table, but no one appreciates it. We can't tell ourselves those two things and expect a reality to come true that we want. We have to find a way gracefully to connect those two stories. We could still be frustrated with life, right? We're not toxic positive. We honor our feeling. We're frustrated because no one has understood what I bring to the table. Okay. Okay. Good. But there's still someone out there who will. How can we bring those stories together? So for this, in light of that idea of connecting the thing that you want and you deserve and the reality that you live in, I actually want you to complete the following, right? So our first two prompts was I feel a negative way. I want to feel a positive way. I want you to take another stab at that with the following prompt. It's two prompts. I want you to write, pen out, I am moving past blank and I am moving toward blank. So what are you moving past? You could say, I am moving past feeling that negative way and I am moving toward feeling the positive way. Okay, that's good. But maybe let's think of new words. Can you think of another way to describe those adjectives or states of being or lifestyles? What are you moving past? You are moving past feeling misunderstood. You are moving past accepting bare minimum. You are moving past doubting yourself. You're moving toward trusting yourself. You're moving toward a reality where someone sees everything you bring to the table. I want you to take another stab at those two words, maybe with different words, maybe with longer sentences, more specificness. I am moving past blank. I am moving toward blank. Put some guardrails on the goodness that you're going to create with the language you use to speak to yourself. Take 2 minutes for this because the two-part prompt. I am moving past blank, a feeling, a reality, a habit, a standard, and I'm moving toward blank. Put some words behind the goodness that awaits you. Take 2 minutes, minute and a half. Moving past, moving toward. Think about the words you're using intentionally. I had you start by just thinking of two adjectives, the ones that immediately came to mind. Here's an opportunity to maybe make those adjectives a little bit more true, a little bit more specific, a little bit more freeing. Take 30 more seconds. I am moving past, I am moving toward language. Take another 15 seconds. Okay. This is my favorite prompt. I um I have this book that's coming out soon. The subtitle is called How to Get Everything You Want Out of Love and Life Without Losing Your Spark. I want to talk about your spark. This is such an important topic. There is something about each one of us that from the day we were born has existed inside of us. It is our essence. It is the thing that makes us unique and powerful. And life is life, of course, and it will make us doubt that thing. It will make us doubt our pizzazz, our passion, our intensity, our uniqueness. It will try to make us bury it and doubt it. I referenced the work of James Hillman in my book, The Idea of the Soul's Code, that essence inevitably has to come out, that there is an acorn inside of us. When you plant an acorn, it becomes an oak tree. You can't expect an acorn to become a banana tree or a tomato plant, right? That thing has one essence and it needs to come out. That is your spark. And we owe it to ourselves to trust it the best we can, to say, this is the thing that makes me unique. And this is the thing that will attract the right people into my life. This is the thing that will bring the right opportunities my way. I want you to think the best you can of what your spark is, that thing that you're dedicated to, that thing that makes you you, passionate, intense, funny, caring, empathetic. And I want you to think about that being the catalyst, the reason why the following will come true. I want you to hold your pen in your hand and I want you to feel it. I really want you to focus on the mind and body connection. And I want you to hold this thought in your head as you write a prompt. Say this to yourself. Anything I write with this pen will come true. This is our mindset. We're holding our pen. Anything I write with this pen will come true. And now I want you to write the following. It's my turn to blank. It's my turn to blank. Think about the thing that maybe you have felt has eluded you. And I want you to think about your spark. What is it your turn to receive? The thing that you have worked for, the miracle that you believe in. It could be a feeling, to Kyle's point, about thinking about the feeling of that miracle. It's my turn to feel blank. It's my turn to receive blank. It's my turn to be blank. Put it in your language, a short sentence. Anything you write with this pen will come true. And so it's my turn to blank. Take 30 seconds for this. We'll do one last prompt. There's power in your pen. Words are spells. It's my turn to blank. Put a word behind it. Put a phrase behind it. Feel the power of that. Anything you write with this pen will come true because you're honoring how you feel, but you're giving yourself room for things to change, for miracles to happen, for beliefs to come true, for hard work to catch up with you, for the reality you want to live to be the same as the story you tell yourself. It's my turn to blank, period. Give you 15 more seconds just to stay on schedule. And then we'll do one last prompt that kind of brings it together. So in light of this, and usually my sessions are a little bit longer, but I think this is a really good kind of just surface level of this. But so we started with an emotion, right? We started with a negative feeling you feel. We talked about the way we want to feel. We talked about what you're moving past and what you're moving toward. We talked about your spark as the essence for moving you to your miracle that you deserve. I want you to complete the following prompt. Again, we're kind of just rewriting this in a way that's more empowering. I want you to write the following. It's our last prompt. A part of me feels blank, but I blank. All right. So now we're going back to that initial adjective. A part of me feels. I am not that way, but a part of me feels it. You could write the same word you had earlier. You could write the phrase that you wrote when you said, I'm moving past. You could write it again and revise it again. Great. A part of me feels blank. We're honoring the emotion. We're never trying to control our emotions. We're practicing non-judgmental mindset of it. A part of me feels blank, but I blank. So the first half honors the feeling, the second half sets us free, moves us toward, clarifies that it's my turn too. Put some language behind it. Again, we're all circling the same idea with all these prompts, but we're enhancing and evolving our language from life happens to me and through me and by me and for me. So just think about word choice, emotional vocabulary. Take another 30 seconds for this, and then we'll wrap it up. A part of me feels blank, but I blank. Yes, I like the chat comments here. Thank you for those. A part of me feels, it's a part of you. It's not your whole essence. It's a part of you. But reality, moving forward, your next chapter, the thing you deserve to receive because of all you bring to the table. A part of me feels blank, but I blank. Okay. Well, I'll end my chat there. I hope that was helpful. It was very fast, very quick, but just think about the power of the way you speak to yourself. Life happens for you. How can we use that to show ourselves that things can change for the better, that emotions aren't permanent, and that they certainly don't define our entire essence. So thank you for your time, Kyle. Thank you for graciously bringing me in.
Thank you
I get
so
a
much.
lot. Thank you.
We loved it. We loved having you. The story we tell
Thank
ourselves
you.
and the reality we want to receive.
Yes.
Such gold. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. And we're so excited about the opposite of settling coming out.
Uh,
So
Thank
welcome to
you.
the Hay House family.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thank you. It's a privilege.